change for harmony amongst all human beings. So in 1972, Srila Prabhupada came to Portland, Oregon, on the west coast of the United States. We had a small temple there. It was run by Dhanavir Maharaj, Dhanavir Prabhu at the time. Many of us were joining at that time all over the United States, Canada, Australia, by seeing the potency and incredible power of Srila Prabhupada, and by experiencing his instructions, we were completely inspired by him to become Krishna conscious and to share it with others. So Prabhupada he had many weapons in his arsenal, and he would reveal them to us. For example, he really emphasized book distribution. So when he came to the airport in Portland, we went to meet him. The first words that came out of his mouth were, "Are you distributing my big books?" This was 1972, June. At that time, we were mainly going on Harinam Sankirtan, 6 hours, 7 hours a day. And then people would crowd around us because we were dressed in pink sheets, and we had these shaven heads with a little bit of hair on the back of our head. And people had no clue as to what we were. So Srila Prabhupada was emphasizing that somehow or other, you distribute my books. I'm writing these books, the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, all his purports were destined to change the lives of millions of people and change the direction of human civilization on this planet. So Prabhupada stayed in Portland, and in the morning we would go for morning walks with Srila Prabhupada to a nearby park. And Srila Prabhupada started talking about the scientists, and he compared them to frogs in a well. And so he was walking past a pond, and he saw a frog. He said, "So what is Mr. Frog saying today?" He was mounting an assault on what we call the knowledge elites of society, the intellectual, the academic elites of society, who were indoctrinating the young people, the youth, with atheism and materialism. So one of his many weapons in his arsenal was for us to preach strongly against the doctrine of atheism, Marxism, Darwinism, all these false philosophies and ideas. So Prabhupada would always bring these things up and challenge his disciples. When I was in Los Angeles, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was coming to meet Prabhupada in 1973. And he was quite amazed to see all these young Westerners rallying up behind Srila Prabhupada. And so he was so inspired, and Prabhupada would take him out on morning walks and ask Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, "So what are the scientists saying today?" Of course, Swarup Damodar Maharaj would be saying, "They say that life comes from chemicals, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada would teach us how to challenge them. And of course, Srila Srila Prabhupada, every time I would see him, at that time, the Los Angeles Temple was one of the leading preaching centers in the West, or practically in the world at that time. And Prabhupada would come there at least. And every time in Bhagavatam class, he was speaking from Bhagavatam, but at the end of his class, he would always say, and I'm emphasizing, distribute books, distribute books, distribute books. So, of course, one devotee would ask Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, how can we please you the most? And he expected Prabhupada to say, distribute my books. But actually, Srila Prabhupada said, I want you to learn how to love Krishna. And many times, of course, he would rein us in by saying, you're distributing books, but are you reading the books? So ISKCON runs on 2 tracks. The Pancharitriki Vidhi, the sadhana bhakti, the studying of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Prabhupada's writings, and then also outreaching to the public and distributing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy to the public. But we also have to remember that our goal is how to develop an attachment to Lord Krishna by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Of course, we know that Srila Prabhupada is the embodiment of Lord Nityananda's mercy. Lord Nityananda is the Guru Tattva. And without the mercy of Guru, how can we ever understand the relationship of Radha and Krishna as described in songs by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur? So in this way, Srila Prabhupada was setting up a blueprint for how to spread his movement. Preaching to the scientists, distributing books, prasadam distribution. So the movement was very, very strong at that time in America and the Western world. People were joining daily. Many great big scholars were so impressed by Srila Prabhupada that he had practically created a miracle with all these wild Westerners completely involved in, narcissism and hedonism, sense gratification. Suddenly we're rejecting all the values of the American way and taking up the rules and regulations of Dharma, of Bhakti Yoga, of practicing strictly the principles of Bhakti and serving Lord Krishna and the spiritual master in such a wonderful way, enthusiastic way. So they would visit Prabhupada. And one time, these big scholars were sitting with Srila Prabhupada in his garden in Los Angeles. He had a garden, very nice garden. And they were all come from the universities, big universities, UCLA, Stanford, all these big universities around that area. And Prabhupada was saying to them, he was saying, if you think someone has true enlightenment, true knowledge, if you think someone has the absolute truth, you should surrender immediately. He was telling them, you should surrender. He said, if you have no knowledge and you pretend to be giving knowledge, he said, you're simply rascal, simply rascals. One of the scholars, he put his hand up for a comment. He said, Swamiji, I think you're being a little hard on us. Prabhupada said, perhaps you can use a softer word than rascal. Prabhupada said, rascal includes everything. Simply rascals, misleading people. In this way, Srila Prabhupada influenced very big people. One was Harvey Cox. He was a theologian at Harvard University, and he actually had a kind of connection to the President of the United States, and he would give advice. And so many new swamis, new groups were appearing in America. False gurus, false swamis were coming and preaching all kinds of hodgepodge philosophies from India. But Harvey Cox had a great respect for Srila Prabhupada, great respect. And he could only give wonderful reference to the authorities, to the American government, that Srila Prabhupada was a very authentic and great representative of Sanatana Dharma and Lord Chaitanya's movement. Srila Prabhupada was also very, very protective of us. And sometimes when the police would arrest us, I remember sitting in Bhagavatam class and so many devotees were missing. This was in Portland. Where are my devotees? Where are the devotees? Oh, Prabhupada, the police arrested them for chanting Hare Krishna. Prabhupada was so annoyed. He said, what is this? He says, these are just religious boys and girls. Why are they harassing us? Of course, because the American Constitution protects religion, the police would harass us by arresting us, and then the judge would throw it out and chastise the police. Why are you wasting taxpayers' money? So eventually, 1977 in November, Srila Prabhupada's health really deteriorated over the few months in 1977. And my temple president, he didn't like sending me to India because I was a book distributor. And that was the source of revenue for the temple. But Prabhupada used to put emphasis on the devotees going out every day, that they should rejuvenate themselves by going to the Gaur-Purnima festival every year. Somehow or other, I never got that opportunity at that time. So I was sent to Vrindavan to chant for Srila Prabhupada in his final days. Quite a few devotees. Yadavar Prabhu was there. Vishaka and Yadavar were there filming. Anyway, many of Prabhupada's godbrothers came to visit him, including Krishnadas Babaji. And he was glorifying Srila Prabhupada for what he had done. He created such a great miracle of struggling on a cargo boat at such a ripe old age and struggling to fulfill the order of his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Prabhupada was lying on the bed and he continued to translate, even though he was terminally ill. He continued to translate on his dictaphone every morning. He was continuing to translate, just like the warrior Bhishmadev, who was lying on a bed of arrows. Srila Prabhupada was lying there, hadn't eaten in many, many weeks, perhaps months, simply having some drops of orange juice. And so that morning I went, November 14th, at 3 o'clock, I went into Prabhupada's room and was chanting japa for him. And Srila Prabhupada was there with four other devotees, including myself. There was Bhakti Churu Maharaj, who was attending to him. And there was Jayadvaita Maharaj, and there was Bhardraj Prabhu, the famous artist. And Srila Prabhupada was trying to say something, but we couldn't understand what he was saying. But he was kind of waving his arms like this. And they were trying to understand what Srila Prabhupada was saying. And we were encouraged to massage Srila Prabhupada's feet, which were quite swollen. But around 1 o'clock, when we were having lunch, the Kaviraj told us that Srila Prabhupada was going to leave this world at around 7 p.m. So all the devotees, the news spread throughout the community, and we all gathered in Srila Prabhupada's room and started chanting for Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And we chanted throughout the entire afternoon. And around 7, just after 7, Srila Prabhupada was very silent. And then right at the end, he said, Hare Krishna, like that. And Lord Krishna took him in his arms. Srimati Radharani took him, and they embraced him. And we all became very, very, very sad, very emotional. Devotees were lying on the ground, devotees were crying. And so it so happened that my GBC, his name was Jagadish Prabhu, he was assigned the task of digging Srila Prabhupada's samadhi. There were no tractors, there was no excavators in India at the time, at least not in Vrindavan. So we had to dig Prabhupada's samadhi by hand. And Jagadish was canvassing for devotees to please help dig Prabhupada's samadhi. But devotees were in such great trauma, so overwhelmed by the emotion of loss, that no one really felt like doing it. So Jagadish was saying, can I have some volunteers to dig Srila Prabhupada's samadhi? It's about 12 feet high, 10 feet wide by 10 feet wide. And of course, Raman Reti is very sandy, so it wasn't very difficult. So I put my hand up. And my godbrother, Abhinanda Prabhu, he was from Seattle Temple. We were friends. We said, okay, we'll do it. We'll dig Prabhupada's samadhi. Srila Prabhupada ki. So this was our service to Srila Prabhupada, to his Vapu form. We started digging his samadhi about 8 o'clock, 7:30, and the whole night my devotees who knew me were looking for me. Where is Kripanidhi? And then that morning at 6, they went up to where the samadhi hole was dug, and they saw my head, and oh, there he is. And so we completed Prabhupada's samadhi digging. We were young brahmacharis, 26 years old. We had lots of energy. And so this was my service to Srila Prabhupada's form, the final service. I was very grateful to do that service to Srila Prabhupada. And then we took Srila Prabhupada's body to all the main temples of Vrindavan, Radha Damodar Temple, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Govinda. We took to all the various prominent temples in Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada's Vapu and Kirtan. So these are some of my memories of this day in 1977. And I pray to Srila Prabhupada that I can continue doing some small service at his lotus feet, and that I can always serve the devotees of the Lord and get their mercy also. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.